We are live
We are back.
once again. Fire Rescue 2025. It's Thursday afternoon, right after lunch, but there is still a heck of a crowd of folks walking around in here. When we stepped out to go outside, you walk about 10 feet and you run into somebody that you know and you love, and you got to start talking to them. And it's rough because you can't sit and spend as much time with everybody that you want to.
Well, and there's a finite amount of time that me and you have in between sessions and lunch.
Yep.
So there's not a lot of time to get and talk and stop and talk.
Right.
And you don't want to be rude.
Right.
And just, I got something else to be doing.
That's right.
So for us to hustle up, I had to go get a Coke Zero from the room.
Right.
Grab something to eat
Right.
and get back here.
Right. And you do it, but now we're not complaining. That's a great problem and an example of probably everybody else in this room has that same thing, because they're trying to make their rounds here and they've got an agenda or wanting to go to a class. They've got a class they're trying to get to at whatever time it is, and so it's a popping thing. And to a degree, you want that because that's energy. I mean, you don't want people just bored and sitting around. You got that energy you got built, and you want to give it happen, but. Because I only get to see a lot of these folks only once a year, it makes me feel really bad, because you want to sit down and talk to somebody. Hey, how you been? What you got going on? What's happening? And sometimes you're just forced into just boom and move on.
Well, and so still it is 1 o'clock. Exhibit hall still full.
Yeah.
I don't know what these people are doing for lunch. A lot of them hadn't gone to eat yet. I'm sure they're making plans that way if they haven't. But
Right.
even out in the lobby, when you leave the doors here, I mean, that's a packed house.
There's a lot of people standing right outside there at the escalator and everything else. There's a lot of folks sitting around.
Yeah, and some of the things they got going on in the lobby right now is the silent auction.
Ah, okay.
So,
Yep.
So I know that the foundation has their silent auction out there, and
right.
I've seen a lot of bids. I looked at a few items, seen a lot of bids.
And I hadn't had a chance to stop by and look at them, and I need to do that just to stop by and see, what it looks like, see if there's something that I need to put my name on.
Something that you
or put your name on.
You put my name on. I hear you.
It's been a good week. Good week. And we've got a couple of more days ahead of us to kind of finish this thing out, and it's been a good experience and all.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, and some folks may have tuned in yesterday and watched the live stream of the roundtable we did yesterday.
Yep.
But I really had a good time with that, and I think the time slot they give us
Yep.
is a tough time slot.
Yep.
Because
Afternoon, everybody's been around all day.
They've been all day. They did open the ceremony and all those things, and we talked about that with Randy, how exhausting that day is.
Yep.
But we had some pretty good numbers in there, I thought.
Yeah, we did. We had a good group of folks, and we had good questions, conversation afterwards, and so I think that may make a difference too. Just it shows an interest level that people have got. They come down here, they have a want, and it's not just want to go out here to this sandy little edge of the state, but they have a desire and a want to come in and engage somebody and help in answering questions and taking part of what they're trying to do and accomplish. So it's a
So if you
great thing.
didn't see the roundtable, it's available on YouTube. You can go back and watch.
Is it on the same channel?
I think it's on the same channel, and you can go back. It's recorded. Dan Shaw, I think he was a deputy chief at Fairfax. Very insightful, but probably the most impressive person I've met here so far is that Sarah Jenke.
She's a sharp tack, I tell you what, and I wouldn't want to cross her path because I think she put me in my place.
Well, so now do you know where she's from?
No, I don't know where Home's at.
I don't know either.
I mean, in all the bio stuff, it was focusing on a lot of her accomplishments and whatnot, and so I don't really remember where Home was. I don't know, but the work that she's doing and some of the science that she's putting out, she gave everyone the invitation to be part of that scientific share group, which I did immediately, jumped on and did. I just thought was outstanding. So it's scary to see some of the numbers as far as health and wellness for firefighters these days. It's just scary.
Well, and the thing is it's all kind of stuff we knew. We knew.
Yeah.
And we do all these other things and kind of avoid and I guess it's like that with a lot of problems in the fire service is that we don't tackle it, but she puts the science to it and you can't deny it.
So how do you recruit there's two camps. How do you recruit a volunteer when you know now that out on the street is how high your risk of cancer is, how high your risk of sleep deprivation is, how high your cardiovascular risk is? How do you recruit somebody to volunteer? And if you're a career individual, how are you going to find somebody to keep giving you health insurance? Because at some point, somebody who's insuring you is going to figure out those numbers and see that science, and it's going to impact local governing body in providing you with coverage for health insurance. It just has ramifications upon ramifications that I'm surprised we hadn't already talked about.
Yeah, I think there's going to be in the future, and we can go down this road of what the future kind of holds for the fire service. But one of them is going to be on the insurance side and protecting your people. Yeah. And there's going to be more than just suggestions. Yeah. There's going to be some regulations and requirements of what you have to do for clean cab for.
Okay, right, and that's not going to necessarily come from a governmental entity. That's going to be coming from the people that have to provide us whatever service, insurance, or whatever the case may be. They're going to say, look, if you want us, here's what you've got to do. And I think that's a real distinct possibility that's coming soon.
Yeah, I think that is going to be not classified as pre-existing conditions, but if you're not meeting these standards and you can't document certain policies and procedures on what you do post-fire, pre-fire, and I think health and wellness needs to play in that as well.
Absolutely. There's no way around it. You can't avoid it. It's too significant. And that was kind of one of the shocking takeaways from her presentation, is just now seeing someone as bright and as smart as that's got succinct data. It's not hard to read. It's not vague. It's just numerical. Boom, there it is. And having to take that in.
And I think what she did was a great job of tying everything together too, because we always kind of tack it of, okay, cancer, this is your box. Cardiovascular, this is your box.
Right.
And then mental health, this is your box over here, and we're attacking it all differently. And how first thing she did was tie sleep to all of it, and then how it affects all of the elements.
I just don't know how you. There's no mandate that's going to make you fulfill and check all those boxes. I don't know how we're going to, in a quick fashion. This may be generational. This is going to take decades for us to solve when it comes to what do we do about our cardiovascular health? What do we do about the risk of cancer? Okay, we're doing things with PFAS and gear. Okay, right. We recognize gross decon and showering as quickly as possible after calls. Yeah, okay. But how do you change that culturally? Because now I've never worked in a department, volunteer career, that had those things as institutional to where, okay, I've got the luxury of putting that set of gear over in a bag to get it cleaned while I get out my second set of gear. I've just never had that luxury. And so how are we going to incorporate decon on a scene, bagging things up? I mean, you've seen, it's been probably a year or more ago, you saw some kind of videos of European models, a way of doing this. It's almost like a sterile environment. But I don't know how we incorporate that in South Carolina in this culture. It's years yet to come. And now you're faced with the fact that you've got these glaring statistics that if you don't start doing something to reduce your weight and get your cardiovascular, she said, and keep me honest, that the expectation of performance for a firefighter getting out of bed and getting into an IDLH atmosphere, the cardiac impact is greater than a pro athlete.
Yes. And the number that she used was a heart rate of 192.
192. Going from a resting rate heart rate to 192. How are we going to get somebody who may not be in peak physical performing mode to get to that point and say, well, and not use a crutch, just say, okay, well, I am whatever, so I don't have to worry about that, or I've done this for so many years, so I don't have to worry about that. Because we all strive to get in better physical condition, but that's just scary.
Well, and there's a lot of experimental stuff going on, and I think that's fine, but we don't have anything tried and true yet. So we're doing different things with, okay, we're bagging up our gear. We're swapping out Nomexes after every fire. We're changing to our second set of gear. But we don't know if that's working.
Yeah.
Because
right.
Is the damage already done once you have it on you? Did you already, it's 110 degrees in August. You're sweating, all your pores are open, and I'm getting these carcinogens already in.
And she showed that slide, to your point. She showed that slide where the rates of the points of entry around your neck, your wrist, in areas that, what are we going to do about that? I mean, we're going to tape up before we do anything like it's a hazmat. And then she said, okay, if you do that, you've now created a barrier where all that heat and everything is against your skin. It ain't going to get any better.
Now you do cardiovascular.
So boom, one affects the other. So I don't know, there's a lot of things. And then the the bravado side of it. He goes, well, it's just going to be what it's going to be. I'm just going to go for it, do it anyway. And you're just like, I don't know. How can you accept that when someone who's a lot smarter than I am is telling you bluntly, you're going to have a problem if you don't do something? How do you disregard that? How do you ignore it? And how do you look a 18, 19, 20-year-old in the face now and say, let me just tell you, we want you in this system. We want you in this profession. But you need to look at these slides.
Well, and so what you're going to run into, and say, okay, changing Nomexes after every fire and having particulate blocking Nomexes, which are a lot more expensive. How many fire departments do you price out?
Yeah, there you go.
So where is there going to be some government subsidies and funding that assist in this, and grants that assist in helping us be safer? Or are they content with a rural area having guys go in there and life expectancy is going to drop? Are they good with that?
And again, it's things running full circle here. Back to who's going to insure that person. Can you recruit that person? Is the local government who's responsible for that volunteer system willing to accept the fact that now they're going to have an employee who's on their workers' comp, whose chances are they're going to have a pretty good claim somewhat?
Well, at what point does the state of South Carolina step in because of our cancer policy? They step in and say, okay, you're not doing these things. Do we regulate?
Completely agree with you. So I'm playing devil's advocate, though. The problem is, okay, why is it the state's responsibility? Whose responsibility really is it? And we had those same conversations at this OSHA proposed reg that we're working on and everything, is when this is done by the feds, that's an unfunded mandate. Is the Fed responsible for that? And the feds are going to say, well, you don't work for us. Well, yeah, but you passed the rule. Yeah, but the science says whether we pass the rule or not, this thing's going to happen to you. So why don't you have a second set of gear? Why don't you have on-scene decon? Why don't you have rehab that's a climate-controlled environment on every call you go to? Well, because we ain't got the money. Well, then whose responsibility is it? The county, your local government, and then they're going to say, well, wait a minute, we're on top is telling us from down what we've got to do. Well, and we can't afford it. Our tax base, we've only got 10,000 people, we've got 30,000 people, whatever the case may be. What's our tax base be able to afford it? And so I don't know the answer. It's quite a dilemma and everything. And so it's yet to be seen what the answer, I think, is.
Yeah, because most communities are tapped out tax-wise, resource-wise, money-wise, just to get people to respond, much less everything that goes with it.
And we talk about the fact whether it's a career department, and everybody wants to make more money. Cost of living's area, salary increases, biggest expenses are your personnel. And the volunteer side, well, okay, again, I'm going to have to insure these people and provide them this equipment and gear. What are we going to do? And so it's a pretty strong dilemma that I don't know that I have the answer to. You're being fed a French fry.
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
I'm good, thank you. Smile for the camera as you walk through. We appreciate it. That was your president trying to give us fried food.
Trying to take care of us.
Right. Well, I was taking it the other way around. I thought he was trying to kill you with the French fries. Either way you want to do it.
Could be.
All right. Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, that's just the president doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Taking care of his people. Trying to. I don't know. This is a wonderful, fantastic time to be in this profession, because I know that there's just, instead of hyperbole, instead of just people talking about it at a kitchen table, like you say, things we may have all known all along, it's more and more smart people like that getting involved with this, that are quantifying, that are giving us real numbers. And to a degree, we as a profession have got to change and start being more like some of our other sister emergency responders, to where it just gets a little more blunt. Firefighters are great at being asked to solve problems that they don't have the right equipment, and I don't mean that in a literal sense, but just aren't equipped to solve. And we're wired, we fix a problem. We show up, we fix a problem. And it's just, at what point do we have to start saying, look, that we've got this data, we've got this information, we've got to solve this. We just can't have that attitude. We don't have the people, we don't have the resources, we don't have the fire truck. I mean, we're running fire trucks that are over 20 years old. Okay, and so you're expected to do these things. Great example. And I should have asked, we're going to get around to this question. Recently, we run commercial engines to our calls. We're now given EV blankets and EV nozzles to put on a truck, and we got so much stuff on it right now, we're having to basically strap it in the seat beside us. So at what point do you start saying, look, we can't operate our system with this baseline piece of apparatus because you're asking us to do all these jobs. We've got to have something more that's got more compartment space and more carrying capacity and constant load springs and on and on and on and on. And a governing entity, whoever pays your bills, is going to look at that and say, look, okay, we got to step up and we got to pay for it.
Yeah. Or they're going to tell you to carry less.
And at some point, that's kind of my point, is that you have to say as an individual, as a entity, look, we can't do this. You know, we were joking around all the storms recently. We have become the de facto tree cutting entity, and we didn't say no to that. You get toned out, you go. I mean, there's a tree down, you go, and it gets frustrating because there are other entities that you would assume are responsible for clearing roadways, but that doesn't.
They work for the county.
Yeah. And instead, they call you because you're quick, and you're glad to try to help. But the reality of it is you're being asked to do another task that maybe is not in your normal line of work. I mean, we train for interior structural firefighting. We train for those emergency response. I ain't really spent a lot of time teaching people, okay, not how to run a chainsaw, but to cut a tree, because that's different than cutting a hole in a roof.
Sure.
And if you are not experienced with cutting limbs and trees under tension, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And it's just another job. At what point do we start saying, look, that's just our carrying capacity for handle this is just, we've maxed.
Yeah, so we've got away from cutting trees at all. However, once trees are down for a little while, folks are going to call 911. And we never say no.
And that's what happens to us. And it's either under the guise of somebody might hit it if it's in a roadway, or it's blocked access to a community that you might have to get into for an emergency call. And that's I jokingly said after Helene, and I don't, because they were buying replacement chainsaws and more saws. I don't want any more saws. Just buy me a Traco, buy me a backhoe, buy me a pneumatic tire loader so that we can run around with that thing and clear roads. Because that's what it amounts to.
So we're lucky enough to have a relationship with a construction company in town that drops off a big front end loader for us. Now, Matthew, I think I spent 16 hours out on the roads, clearing roads with the front end loader. Didn't need it so much with Irma.
What did you do about power lines and things? I mean, do you just, if it's power line, you don't touch it, or
don't
what?
touch it. So what our strategy was on that first day was to try and get egress to a hospital. So if I can clear roads and give you pass, even if I had to take a side road here to go down another road to get to this, and we can get around, that's what we would do. Because my fear was, because Matthew was one of the first storms that we had in a while, so people didn't evacuate. So my people were still on the island. So if they needed to get to the hospital and I couldn't get them there, that would have been tough on us. So our first strategy was to clear roadways and get them access to a hospital if need be. But if not for that front end loader, it would have been days.
That's a private individual. That's not the county. That's a private individual. Well, that's pretty impressive that somebody would step up and just say, "Here's the keys." That's great citizenship. Good for them. You know, but at what point do we start writing grants or start looking for? And I've seen the forester guys walk through here. We're looking for that federal surplus property program to start providing us with heavy equipment, you know, to do more of those things. And I hate to have to strap on another part of job description, but again, you're being asked to do more and more and more with less, and it really boils back to people is the fact that it ain't like I've got somebody I can just dedicate to these other projects, these other ideas, training, or whatever the case may be. So,
well, I'm gonna tell you, there's many of investigations.
Yep.
I'd love to have an excavator.
Yeah, well, yeah,
you
sure.
know, so if you had one that you could use.
Overhaul situations on mobile homes. How many times have I had to, worry about that roof fell in on all the garbage is underneath it? What are we going to do? Okay, if I had a piece of equipment where I could drag something off, maybe.
No, you're putting guys up there with a K-12 and he's cutting it in pieces and you're pulling that metal roof off.
And right on back to what she was saying yesterday is how many times have we done those overhauls and we said, okay, the fire's out so you can dress down or step down out of, SCBA. And she was telling us yesterday you can't do that anymore.
No.
It was that long grocery list, that stew of chemicals that she listed on that slide that's still prevalent, even though our 4 gas meters aren't detecting it. And she's showing us that on the slide yesterday. So now I'm thinking, when that happens, and I've still got people that are tired, they've been in IDLH, they put this thing out, now we've got to clean up. They still got to stay dressed down. So now I'm going to have to tone another station to come along after we get through with suppression activities, because now I got to hand you the keys to this thing because you got to clean up because my folks are beat. And going back to this OSHA thing, this is how it gets weird, is I've got to guarantee them rehab time in an environmentally secure place,
Controlled.
And so how am I going to do that and do that overhaul and maintain this cancer-free environment? It just gets weird, man.
Well, and I'm looking around the room right now, and all these firefighters, every one of them has been in that scenario where you got a single-wide mobile home, metal roof, collapse down on it. You got to get to what's underneath. Everybody's had to K-12 it, rip it apart with pike poles, whatever you got to do to expose it. And I guarantee you, everybody here has done that without SBA on.
Absolutely. And we had nobody wants to admit that we're not doing interior stuff, but I'm telling you, man, and things like that with Pearson nozzles at mobile homes, I think it's the coolest thing in the world. Heck, man, just give me a Pearson nozzle. I'll walk around and poke that thing like I'm poking a marshmallow.
That's right.
And I can put it out. Roof falls on, jam that rascal. Not a tin roof on the top, it's tougher, but jam it. The heck we're trying to pull. And not because you think that may be optimal, but just because now I've got an exposure limit on individuals who are sitting there having to do this work. My manpower is limited, and I really don't have the resources to pull this thing off, so I got to get creative. And it's just example after example. I think that it's good that we've got young, innovative thinkers that are able to come in here and kind of handle some of this. Older groups of people will get pretty frustrated pretty quickly because I go, man, we didn't used to do this. That wasn't something that we did back in the day.
Well, some of the things that we've transitioned on in our fire department, so we have three sets of gear. We have 271 sets of gear. So if you go to a fire, you switch out to your other gear, wash that, clean it, and get it back in service. But we also have 51 gear, which is like a USAR kind of gear. So when the thermal threat has been diminished, we switch into that on hot. Wildland and hot.
Right.
And I've gotten away from overhauling 1 3/4. Just doing it brush line.
Right.
It's a whole lot easier to move around, a whole lot lighter, a whole lot less taxing.
Sure.
Because when you think about when your injuries really occur on fire ground.
It's after you're tired, you're working out.
Early on, you got all that adrenaline, you're rocking and rolling.
Yep.
So that's some of the things that we've kind of changed the way we do business, and just trying to get better, trying to be safer, trying to be smarter.
And having the leadership to be able to lead your department through changing the tactics from a fundamental thought process of how we do things, driven by that kind of stuff. That's another part of it too, is we've got to find people that in all the organizations is willing to say, yeah, okay, maybe we've done it all that way, but we've got to find a better, more realistic way to do it.
So did you get any heads up on Sarah prior to us?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to do my homework. I did watch some YouTube videos. I had not had the pleasure of meeting her, but I didn't want to sit beside someone who I knew was a heck of a lot smarter than me and blind. So I did watch some things online and try to read a little bit about her.
Well, and I try to do that with most of our guests, not the people that we know well, but just because when you're doing a round table or a podcast, you don't want to get to a point that we're just all looking at each other. So you want to have questions built up.
Right.
But like when people told me about her, they would say, "Oh, that's the sleep lady."
Yeah, right.
Or scheduling.
Right.
She talked very little bit about scheduling and what schedules should be or effective or not effective. But her sleep talk was more about what you're doing off duty.
She was, and I got it wrote down here, and maybe I can find it while we're talking about it. She was offering that we all should go and get a book that I wrote down the title of Matthew Walker, While We Sleep. I wrote that down.
I did too.
And so I'm going to get this Matthew Walker, While We Sleep, because fundamentally, in writing our new state OSHA plan, we have earmarked and kept a spot available without verbiage yet for sleep deprivation, because I think that's just like all the other little things we're talking about. That's going to be the next thing, and a placeholder for it so that it can be populated. I think it's going to be pretty important, and it scares me to death. And you and others have more experience with it than I do, but working some of the shift work that we do now and allowing people to participate in numerous departments.
Joe, what is this?
Is interesting. I have no idea. We're going to find out, though. We're going to find out. Make this one hot.
Yep. One.
Samaria? Samaria. You have a beautiful name. Will you tell me something? Yep, that mic is hot, so you just speak right there into it. We are really interested in your group. It looks wonderful. Tell us about what your group is.
We used to Columbia Fire Department.
Can she come back up here? We got time. Samaria, would you do me a favor? Will you come up here and sit with me for a second? She has unofficially been marked as your spokesperson. Will you put that around?
I don't. Will that fit over that? How are we gonna handle that?
You put it on. She's got it.
She's got it.
Samaria, tell the folks here, he's going to expand that camera out so we can see you, because you make us look a whole lot better, okay? So we need everybody to be able to see you over here on this camera. Tell us your name.
My name is Samaria Laus, and I'm with the Columbia Fire Department Youth Academy. And we're with the Columbia Urban Lead, and we'll be doing this program for 2 weeks.
And so Columbia's home.
Yes.
I'm from Newberry, so we're not far away.
All right. So where are you from?
Columbia, South
All
Carolina.
right, that's cool.
Where at in Columbia, South Carolina?
Rosewood.
We know where
Rosewood.
Rosewood is.
There you go.
We know where Rosewood is.
And what school do you go to?
Millis Tech College.
Okay.
Nice. Awesome. Well, what caught our eyes, we were sitting here talking, okay? And we saw y'all's good-looking shirts, and we saw a whole bunch of people that looked like they were together, and we were really curious and want to know what's going on. So tell us a little bit about your program.
So we're with Urban Lead, and they give us we get to pick what job we want to be with, and then we get to experience what they do. So like we're with the fire department, so we get to learn about the trucks they use, the roles they play, and different things.
That is perfect. You timed this perfectly.
And you said this is a 2-week program?
Yes.
Okay, so y'all do this for 2 weeks, and y'all spend all 2 weeks at the firehouse.
Yes, from 9 to 1.
Okay, good deal.
And so you had a bus or a van or something? Everybody came down
Yes.
yesterday, this morning, or
This
what?
morning.
No kidding. And you'll go back this afternoon?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's a full day.
Okay, so tell me what you've seen so far.
I seen the different fire trucks. I seen the vendors that they use to get the hose from and their equipment, and I seen I think it was a new fire truck that's going to be used.
So yeah, all those trucks you see over there are brand new, hadn't been put in service yet.
Yeah.
Which one did you like the most?
The new one that they're finna put out.
Which one?
It had the colors. I didn't remember what.
That's
the
all
name
right.
of it,
That's
but
right.
I just seen it.
He's got his favorite down there, too. Don't let him tell you any different.
Well, I just know which one catches most people's eye.
All right. That's right. That's right. So is this an interesting thing, maybe career-wise for you or something? I mean, you've been two weeks into. How long are you in this program now? You said 2 weeks.
Yes.
Is this week 1, week 2? Where
This
are we
is
at?
week 1.
Okay.
Oh, wow. All right. So we hadn't quite figured this thing out yet. Is this sound like an interesting career choice?
No.
Well, I appreciate your honesty. I think you would probably do a good job with this.
No.
What are you learning about in the program?
In the program, we learning about what they do when they're on duty, what they use to. That's basically it that we learned so far.
That's awesome.
Okay, so if not firefighting, what would you choose? What are you looking to do?
Say that again.
What would you like to do?
Career-wise.
Oh, I'm going to school to be a sterile processing technician.
Okay.
Good for you. I may want to go with you.
But what you'll have that most citizens won't have is an understanding of your fire department.
Right.
So as a citizen, even you choose a different career, when you see the trucks going down the road, you see somebody in trouble, you see some type of incident, you'll understand why we do what we do. So you'll be able to teach family members, community members, because everybody's going to say, well, why they bring the big truck to a medical call? Now you know,
Oh,
and you'll be able to tell them.
Yeah.
Who's leading your program?
Captain Bostic.
Say it one more time.
Captain Bostic.
I've heard of him. Is he a pretty good fella?
Yes.
Doing a good job?
Is he doing a good job?
Yes, a very good job.
Good. We'll go back and tell his boss. If his boss doesn't walk through here, we'll make sure he knows.
Well, thank you so much for being on with us.
Thank you for doing this and everything. Y'all look good. I appreciate you being here. This is awesome.
Thank you again for the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. Very nice. Nice young lady. Thank you, ma'am. How perfect. That was perfect timing.
Yeah, it worked out.
Thank you. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you bringing them down here.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a long day. That's hard work.
Yeah, that is. So what is it?
Yeah, that's a 3+ maybe 4 hour drive or something to get there from here with traffic and everything.
Could be.
That's awesome.
But it's a great opportunity for me. Yeah.
Oh, kidding. Perfect
Deal.
timing. To get them in and all that kind of stuff. They look good. Everybody's looking good and interested. So that's good. Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
We were talking about jump. I don't remember what we were talking about.
So we were talking about Sarah. We were talking about sleep and schedules.
Sleep deprivation in the new OSHA program. And so we've got that earmarked there. And so I'm really interested to read this literature and see some more stuff that she was doing to figure out if we need to incorporate more in there because of people working multiple departments, multiple shifts, and not getting what she was saying, 8 hours of sleep, and what that's going to do ultimately to your health and all the effects that she was laying out there, not just the fact you feel sleepy and make poor decisions, which she gave stats and numbers on, but the fact that it all affects cancer and it affects your heart and all the above, depression.
And it all ties together. Everything ties together. So you don't see a lot of people in great shape with sleep machines.
Yeah, right.
You just don't.
Right.
It's not. That's not how they work.
An indication of the fact that if you have a problem, then it affects your health.
Yeah, and I lost a bunch of weight, so it ain't like that I spent my whole career in shape either. So, but you ain't gonna show up at the gym at 6:30 and see everybody walking around with those marks on their face from that sleep machine.
That's right.
That doesn't happen.
That is the case. Well, it's that time.
It is that time. So we will get ready for our next guest, which will be Richard Ray.
Yep, he's a good guy.
Absolutely.
Tune back in with us in a few minutes. Thank you for being part of it.